Hello, welcome to our introduction to the Grade 8, the 8 things you must do to survive and thrive in real estate. My name is Steve Strickholm. I'm the founder and president of KD&A Goal Tracker, and we've worked with over 20,000 real estate agents, and we are being used by hundreds of managers and coaches, and we've worked with over 1,000 real estate teams to help them be successful in real estate, because that's the purpose of the Grade 8. We've taken what we've learned from all of these people and all these coaches and all these agents and teams, and we've put together the 8 key activities that agents need to engage in to get the best future for themselves in real estate. Now, why is it important? Why is it important to focus on what's going to make a difference? It's because the National Association of Realtors and other statistics show that about 3/4 of agents fail in the business or don't make the income that they want within the first year, and after 5 years that number is 87%. So what we want to do is we want to activate the right kinds of skills that are going to move agents out of that bucket and into the 13% who are earning a great living and separate them from everybody else. But in order to do that, we have to cover, well, what are the key facts, the key realities about real estate and being an agent? Well, the first key fact is the primary job of us as agents is lead generating. We get our real estate license, and then it's a shock to find out that the clients aren't given to us by our broker or our friends. We have to go out and we have to create the business from scratch. So everybody starts at zero. Key fact number 2, it's a competition, and it's the disciplined and committed agents that survive and succeed. So key fact 3 is then you got to figure out and you got to do what the other 87% are not doing. There's a great quote which says, "You must do what others will not do to have what others will not have." And that's what we're helping people learn through the Grade 8. Here's some great quotes from some of our favorite coaches. Goal tracking stops my people from hallucinating that they are actually working. So the question is, are the agents sticking to the daily activities that are going to drive their business forward? That's the purpose of the Grade 8, is to get the agents to focus on and increase the number of income producing their activities they're doing throughout the sessions, so they create the kind of transactions, get enough transactions, and create the career that they want. So let's do an overview of the Grade 8. How does this program work? Well, we've got 8 sessions that we provide, and we'll be going through these and doing a brief overview from business preparation and mindset to lead generating, contacting appointments, and then of course opening and closing sales. Now, for the coach, these 8 sessions, they're a flexible time frame. They're about an hour and a half to 2 hours per session, and you can hold them once a week for 8 weeks, or you can meet more often if you want, or you can meet less often, have a week or 2 between the sessions. You can do it in person, you can do a conference call, and you can do a webinar. Very, very flexible. What we provide is we provide student workbooks, which cover all 8 sessions. There are 1 chapter per session, and also a coach workbook with a chapter for each session, which includes coaching tips and materials. And then also, real importantly, we have 8 pre-recorded skill presentations, which you can either present during the class to present each of the 8 skill areas, or you can preview it yourself and then present it yourself. Within each of the sessions, we have 3 steps. The first step is reviewing what happened since our last meeting. Because you set goals, you had a new skill you were going to implement, put in your daily routine. What happened? Did you meet your goals? What challenges did you have? Where were you successful? And how can you embed these new skills in your daily activity routine? Then, step 2 is the new skill learning presentation, which is the videos that we provide. These are the different videos that you can stream or preview. They're 20 to 30 minutes long, and you can use them during each session. There's 1 for each session. And then after the new skill learning presentation, there's what we call the coaches table, where now you are the coach is meeting with the agents and talking with them and saying, well, how are you going to implement this new skill? And what are your KD&A, what are your weekly goals going to be to implement this new skill? So that's, again, step 3, the coaches table. How are you going to add these new skills, and what are your goals going to be? Now, the reason why goal tracking is so important and this third step is so important is we know from studies that have been done, this is one study that took 250 business professionals, and they had half them track their numbers and half them not. And the group that tracked their numbers regularly, week by week, month by month, and were accountable to other people for those numbers and had weekly goals, okay, they were almost 80% more productive. Rather than achieving less than half their goals, the thinking group, they achieved over 3/4 of their goals on a regular basis. It made them 80% more productive. And we have other studies that show that, again, the higher percentage of goals that people achieve through goal tracking, the significantly greater amount of income that they achieve in their career. So that's why we have the KDNA Goal Tracker embedded in the Grade 8. It's the wonderful thing about KDNA is that you can track your goals in less than 30 seconds from any computer device. So the way it works is that the agents get a daily email alert from the coach, and it shows their Grade 8 activity areas, and then the progress on their weekly goals is color-coded. It's red, yellow, light green, dark green, and blue. It's like being at a stoplight. Red is stop, you have no progress on your goals. Then yellow, caution. Then light green, you're doing better. Dark green, the color go, the color of money, you've hit your goals for the week. And blue, sky's the limit, you're at 150% or higher of your goal. So all the agent has to do is get this daily alert from the coach, open it up every day, look at their colors, and think, go green. Turn my colors green by the end of the week, and I'm building the momentum that I need in my business. Now, all they have to do to update the numbers is just tap on an update button, and we bring up their web login, their web update screen. There's no login required, and they can simply tap on a button and add their numbers, put in their actual numbers, and also change their goals and put in what they want their weekly goals to be on their PC. Same thing on a smartphone. From that daily email, tap on an update button, and with no login, they can instantly put in their numbers for the week or update their goals. And all of it is color-coded as well. Now, all that data goes into an online agent dashboard that they can look at week by week, month by month, how they're doing with the momentum in their business. But the coach gets a coach's dashboard. So they can see each week, this week, last week, month by month, how are all of the agents doing in each of the activity areas. So when you're doing a meeting, or coach is doing a meeting, a follow-up meeting, the coach can see, who's got dark green and who's got yellow, who's having successes and who's having challenges, so we can, the people that are doing great can talk about where they're having successes, and the people in the yellow or light green zone can talk about what challenges they have. So it improves everybody's game. And now that's step 3 now is, again, you're helping people implement the new skill and setting their KDNA goals so they can track it the way we just showed it to you. And then what happens is that at the beginning of the next session, step 1, you tune into the KDNA goal tracker and you say, okay, as I was just talking about, how did you do with last week's goal? Who's got yellow, who's got light green, and who's got green and blue? And what successes did you have, and what challenges, and what are you all learning, and what are you going to do differently to create a difference in your life? We call this the Grade 8 Skill Activation Loop. You have results and accountability. That's the first part of each class, the first 30 to 40 minutes. Then there's a 30 to 40 minute new skill learning, and then the last third is execution. How are we going to execute on this new skill, and our goal tracking going forward now to put this new habit in our life. The reason why we're doing this, again, is the skill activation loop activates the right kind of skills that agents need to not be in that 75 or 87% group that aren't earning the living they want in real estate. Okay, so let's do a quick overview, highlights of the Grade 8 sessions. Again, here are the 8 sessions, so let's run through them real quick. This is just a subset of what we cover. Session 1 is daily morning mindset and business preparation. We talk about the fact that there are 4 stages to the sales pipeline. You have to prepare, and you have to have time blocking and scheduling. Then you go out and do lead generating. Lead generating creates appointments, and from appointments you get sales. You got to do all 4 of these. If you don't do them, you don't make any income in the real estate business. So daily morning mindset is making sure that you've got a positive mindset before you start talking to people, and that you do you're scheduling your time and doing time blocking. You have script readiness, so you know what to say and you're comfortable saying it, and then you're tracking your results, so you're holding yourself accountable for doing the things that will build your business. Session 2 is number of hours of lead generating. Okay, this is where the rubber starts hitting the road, because now we're prepared, we've got scripts, we've time blocked, we have a positive mental attitude, we're ready to track. Now we go out and now we do lead generating. Lead generating means we start with our hours that we're lead generating, and that creates 2 and 1-way contacts and conversations, which lead to appointments. But it all starts with the hours of lead generating. And then we talk about what lead generating is and what it is not. We talk about it's not going to the dry cleaners and buying groceries and walking the dog, unless you're talking to people about real estate and handing out business cards when you do that. But what lead generating really is calling people, meeting leads, contacting your sphere of influence. That's a very powerful way to generate business, open houses, and so forth. And then we also bring up the idea of conversion ratios, because it's not just the amount of activity you're doing, but how effective you are with that activity. And then you need to start setting goals. So in terms of hours of lead generating, from the conversion ratios we're looking at, we know that people need to do at least 8 to 10 hours a week of lead generating to start building success in real estate. And that's 2 to 3 hours a day, 4 or 5 days a week. We also cover time blocking. So now if you block the time to do lead generating, maybe 4 or 5 mornings every week, or in the afternoons or a little bit of early evening, guess what? You start creating activity in your business, and now that gives you the ability to do other things like go to your kid's soccer game in the afternoon. Because that's why we go into sales, is to earn the income that we deserve, but also to have the flexible lifestyle that we want as well. Because it's not just about money, it's about owning your time. Again, soccer game with the kids in the afternoon if that's what we want to do. Session 3, number of two-way conversations. Okay, you put in the hours of lead generating, that's going to create one of two things, a two-way conversation or a one-way contact. Two-way conversations are not, sending messages or voicemails. That's one-way contacting. It's also not reading stuff on Facebook. It's face-to-face communication, phone conversations, open houses, or door knocking, and so forth. So we also cover two-way scripts. What kinds of scripts, what kinds of questions and answers, what kinds of bullet points are you going to need to be familiar with and ready to talk to people about face-to-face, at open houses, with a phone conversation to your sphere of influence, or following up on an internet lead, or when you're doing door knocking. These scripts are all different, and you have to be prepared. We want to prepare the agent to have a trusting, open, and expert conversation with people in each one of these environments. Now we bring up the idea of when we really start going into conversion ratios. We have lots of data from agents all over the country, and we know that the average agent takes about 160 two-way conversations to make a sale. Now it depends upon the experience of the agent and the market conditions. But let's say you want to make a sale every 2 months, 2 sales a month. That's, puts you on track for a 6-figure income. So that's 80 conversations a week. Now, that's a lot to do, so we recommend at a minimum that the agents at least do 40 two-way conversations. It's a great way to start to build a business. At least you're starting with a solid 5-figure income, and you can grow your business from there. Session 4 now is number of one-way contacts. Remember, that's the other side of lead generating after two-way conversations. One of the important things we talk about is studies that have been done on how do people communicate, and what do people hear from people and see as we're communicating. And it turns out over half of what we communicate is body language, about a third of it is our voice tone, and less than 10% of it is our words. So when we're doing two-way conversation, we need to pay attention to all this. When we're doing one-way conversation, leaving a voice message, our voice tone is so important. And if we're leaving an email or posting something on social media, the words are incredibly important, because people are going to fill in the voice tone and the body language based upon the words that they're reading and what the context of the words and what they're saying overall. So we talk about working with that 7% and making sure the emotional content is more important than the words themselves, and that's why you want a great script. So if you got you've got email or you're doing voice messages, practice those scripts, and we cover that as well. The next important thing is call continuity. Well, great, now you're doing two-way conversations and one-way contacting. Well, turns out that 80% or more sales, as we know from experience, are made after the 5th or even 10th or 15th or 20th contact. Now, the interesting statistic we cover is that over 75% of people use a new agent, not their old agent, when they buy or sell a house. This is really interesting. What this tells us is agents are not doing call continuity and maintaining a relationship with their previous clients. So this gives newer agents or agents wanting to build their business a great opportunity, because 3/4 of the people out there that are going to buy or sell our house are going to do it with a new agent. So that, guess what? That can be one of us. Okay, session 5, number of buyer appointments. We talk about the advantages of buyer appointments. They're easier to find than sellers because there's not as much competition. There are more buyer appointments, more buyers, but they may or may not actually turn into buying contract. And a lot of newer agents rely on buyer income during the first couple of years in the business, and that's great. So in order to work with buyers, you've got to be familiar with setting an appointment, what you say in initial appointment, and when you're doing showings, and making sure you do follow-up contacting and so forth. So we talk about the different kinds of scripts, bullet points, questions and answers an agent's going to need in these different environments. Then of course you have to talk about, well, what makes a great script? It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. People want to trust you before they're interested in your expertise, and you really got like 10 or 15 seconds to make the initial first impression, person, and do I want to do business with this person? Then of course you got the 85% rule, which is at least 85% of what you're communicating should be managing your body language and your voice tone as well. And then of course make it you. Make it authentic, because that's what people are going to respond to. And you can always improve your scripts over and over again. Question then is, well, where do buyer leads come from? Well, there's the sphere of influence, cold calling, open house leads, door knocking. These are all important areas to build your business. However, one key number that we cover that most people don't know is that about 45% of buyers are out at open houses looking for doing research and looking for the kind of house they might want to purchase. Given the fact that 3/4 of the people who are buying houses are going to be working with a new agent, open houses can be a great way to build a business, because you got almost half the buyers there, and 3/4 of them are going to work with a new agent. So again, that's just one little secret that we give agents to help them, giving them a leg up in building their business. Okay, session 6. Now we're working on listing appointments. Covered buyers, listing appointments. The advantages here, of course, are different. They're more valuable than buyer appointments because you get to control inventory if you get a listing. You also hold open houses, you get additional leads, and you can get two sides of a transaction. So you know that a lot of experienced real estate agents build their careers with listings, and as you get more listings and you get lots of buyer leads, you can build a team, and you can build a team from those listing referrals where you're handling the listings, and now you got a couple people working on the buyer side, and you probably got a transaction coordinator or administrator as well. But remember, half of all commissions go to buyer agents and half go to listing agents. So then you need a listing appointment script. You need to be familiar with setting appointments, being in the initial appointment and going through the competitive market analysis and pricing and so forth. And again, make sure you do follow-up contacting. Now, one really interesting point that we make here as well is that statistics show that over 40% of listings come from referrals. That's your sphere of influence and or past clients. So guess what? That's a great source of referrals, and make sure that you build and maintain and do follow-ups with your sphere of influence. Okay, session 7 is number of listing agreements. Well, buyer appointments you may or may not have a buyer broker agreement, but listing appointments almost always lead to a written listing agreement. We talk about what listing agreements are and what they are not, and we go through that, although that's all covered, of course, in real estate licensing training. But then we talk about objections, because this is not talked about in licensing training, and the fact that almost all sales have at least one. And we know what objections are. I want to interview other agents, or I have a relative who's a real estate agent, or can you cut your commission, and so forth. And then we talk about the different kinds of listing scripts that you're going to need in terms of talking about pricing, exclusive right to sell, commission, and so forth, so that you're really comfortable answering these kinds of objections. We also talk about why objections are good, by the way. because they show that the person still has a willingness to buy from you. If they were done with you, they would just say goodbye. So it's a request to be resold. Okay, here we are now at session 8, number of sales and conversion ratios. The point of KD&A, again, and of the grade 8 and all of these learnings is to increase the number of income producing activities that agents are doing throughout the sessions. Because we know that the goal tracking increases the percentage of goals that they're going to achieve, and that's going to significantly increase their income. So conversion ratios it's the science of sales. It's the agent's secret weapon. The first secret weapon is doing enough activity. The second one is being good enough at it so that the activity you're doing creates a lot of income. But you can only track your conversion ratios and your activity levels if you track your data. So conversion ratios, again, are how much of each of these you need to produce a sale. Hours of lead generating, conversations, contacts, buyer and listing appointments. Those are conversion ratios. And what KD&A does is KD&A has a business plan that will allow you to put in your conversion ratios, and it'll automatically calculate for you the income you're going to achieve with the number of sales you need to do per week and what your KD&A goals need to be in your daily alerts that you get. So your conversion ratios can directly produce a business plan which produce your daily goal tracker color-coded in KD&A. And then of course you're going to be updating your numbers in your PC with no login and or your smartphone, again, with no login. But the numbers have to be accurate in order for you to get an agent dashboard that shows your activity levels correctly, and that your coach, the coach, has a coach's dashboard so they can coach the agents and see who's doing well and in what areas that I as a coach need to focus on. If there's a lot of greens in a column that's in a skill area, I know my group is doing really well. If there are a lot of yellows and light greens, I know that's an area I need to focus on, and we can do that in let's say our weekly webinar training sessions, coaching sessions. But now that we're tracking our numbers and we're getting good data, after 3 or 4 months, guess what? Each agent now can look at their conversion ratios and see, okay, if I'm doing enough activity now, how effective am I with that activity? Because it's only the effectiveness of that activity built on top of the activity itself that creates income. So I can see here, me as an agent, I can see that I'm in dark green in terms of my ratios and lead generating, in terms of two-way conversations and so forth. I'm doing well. However, interestingly enough, my conversions with my buyer appointments are yellow, so I'm below 50%. That's an area I can improve in. If I'm mostly doing buyer appointments, okay, and I can double my effectiveness with my buyer appointments, I can significantly, maybe even double my income with the same amount of activity, because I'm letting a lot of fish go through the net and I'm not capturing people the way I need to. And then finally, KD&A monetizes the activity of each agent in the different levels of their sales pipeline. So if, let's say, my average commission is $5,000, KD&A will calculate that the average value of a two-way conversation from me in my pipeline is worth $39 or $40. So guess what? If I am doing 10 conversations a day, because I'm time blocking and I'm making sure I'm doing 2 or 3 hours of lead generating, guess what? I'm putting about $400 a day into my revenue pipeline, 5 days a week, $2,000 a week into my revenue pipeline through my lead generating. That's $100,000 a year. KD&A monetizes the value of my own activities in my pipeline, so I can see how much my activity and my effort is worth, and where I'm doing great and where I can improve. Okay, so let's do a quick review of the grade 8. We have 8 different sessions of the 8 key activities that we've determined, working with thousands and thousands of agents and hundreds of coaches and teams, what creates success in the real estate business. With these 8 sessions, the coach, you have a flexible time frame, 1.5 to 2 hours per session. You can do it weekly, you can meet more often than that, or you can spread out the sessions over 10 or 12 or more weeks, and you can do this in person with a conference call or a webinar. So it's completely flexible. We provide workbooks and videos, workbooks for the student and the coach instructor, and then videos, pre-recorded videos for each of the training sessions. And then for each session, there are of course different steps, but the first step, step 1, what that does is that takes what you did in step 3 from the previous session, the goals you set, and now you're holding people accountable and saying, how did things go from the new skill from last session? What were your successes and what were your challenges? So We then start with that step 1, which is a follow-up from the previous session. You do step 2. Here's the new skill learning presentation. And again, here are the 8 videos that we provide you, each 20 to 30 minutes long. And as the coach, you can simply stream these videos during the session for the students to watch, or you can preview them and present material related to that yourself as well. And then of course in the third step for each session, that's the coach's table, how you can implement this new skill and what are your goals going to be, because we're going to cycle back at the beginning of next session and talk about how you did. And we call this the KD&A, or the Grade 8 Skill Activation Loop. We do execution and goal tracking at the end of the session. What are you going to execute? Because we're going to look at your results and have an accountability session when we get together again. Then we're going to go to a new skill learning and set up your goals for that new skill and talk about how you're going to execute it, because we're going to again go through that loop, results and accountability, the next time we get together. So that's the coach's table, step 3. How are you going to add these new skills, and what are your goals going to be to establish these new habits? And in order to help you through all these sessions, of course, you get the workbooks and the videos, so you can help agents achieve their best possible future in real estate. Because we know 75% to 87% of agents are not earning the income that they want, or fail in the business. And we want to help agents activate the right kind of skills that are going to make them successful. And it's not just about money, but owning your time and having the lifestyle that you want to do the things you want with you, your family, and your loved ones. So that's the Grade 8, the 8 sessions that we provide with the Grade 8 program. Thanks for joining us again for the introduction of the 8 things agents must do to survive and thrive in real estate. Thanks again. We look forward to working with you. Take good care. Bye.